When you think about the basics of learning, I'm talking reading, writing, and arithmetic, pretty much only one is usually done with technology. Hello, calculators. But the reading and writing parts really need to be learned. And those may count as the most important skills we learn as kids. In the modern world, there are those who fought vigorously to enhance literacy. As we navigate a world that spins on mass communication, it's impossible not to think about the importance of literacy.
Maybe the question shouldn't be, why is literacy important, but what can you do in the modern world without the ability to understand the written word?
Words connect us to one another, and the better we can communicate, the better we can get through life.
Literacy has become a much more nuanced term, and you always still need that base literacy, being able to read and write. You can also look at literacy as a competency in a specific skill. Being able to understand health, medicine, that would be health literacy, digital literacy, being able to use the internet and technology, media literacy, understanding what you're watching in films, reading in magazines, things like that.
Sarah Andrus is the librarian at the Henry Ford. You know, it's interesting because I have always thought of literacy as either you have it or you don't. Black and white, just binary.
And you can have functional literacy. You can get through life being able to read signs, figure out where the restroom is, read your way to the highway, and then never sit down with a book.
Interesting. How difficult is it to measure literacy?
Measuring literacy can be extremely difficult. So you can do standardized tests now, but we all know not everyone is a good standardized test taker. And if you even go back further in history, you're looking at things like census questions where people are self-reporting. And if you couldn't read, would you tell a government official that you did not know how to read?
In the early years of this country, what kind of materials were used to teach reading and writing?
In the early United States, and honestly through the 20th century, you have these things called primers. The McGuffey readers are an example of the Noah Webster spellers that are teaching you phonics, but then they also have short stories and poems that can teach children to read in a more robust fashion.
What is phonics?
Phonics is sounding out letters or sounding out combinations of letters. So when you see a letter, you kind of know what the sound is, and then you can get to what the word is.
Another method for teaching students to read is through high-frequency words, also known as sight words. You might remember them from the 1957 book by Theodore Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss, The Cat in the Hat. If you were promoting literacy, what would you tell people literacy could give them?
Literacy gives you the world. If you cannot read, you cannot engage with so much right now.
Literacy also helps you learn to empathize because you can read about other people's experiences.
There are real studies that children and people in general who read fiction in particular are far more empathetic than the general population. You are experiencing other people's life stories, and it makes you a more empathetic person.
And literacy not only has the potential to bridge gaps between people, but within us as well. In the words of former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan, literacy is a bridge from misery to hope.